The properties of numbers are the foundation of mathematical problem solving. Class of 63 students can be divided into 7 equal groups of 9, but a class of 61 cannot be split into groups greater than 1. That's because 61 is a prime number with no other factors apart from 1 and itself. 63 is a multiple of 9, and the numbers 7 and 9, respectively, are factors. So there's a lot of words here, so let me explain. A multiple is obtained by multiplying a number by the counting numbers. So 7 times 1, 7 times 2, 7 times 3. So the first multiple is the number times 1. The lowest common multiple is the smallest multiple between two or more numbers that is in common. So if we look at the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 5, we reach 15. That's the first one we come to, so it's the lowest common multiple. Therefore, lowest common multiple, or the LCM, of 3 and 5 is 15. A factor, multiples are itself and bigger, the number and bigger. Factors are the number and smaller. So the factor of a number has a remainder of 0, so it's a whole number when it's divided by a given number. For example, 11 is a factor of 77. We could know that that gives us 7 with a remainder of 0 to show that it's a factor, but both 11 and 7 are factors of 77. So the highest common factor, this other idea, is instead of multiplying away and going higher, we're actually going to go backwards until we find a common factor between two numbers like 24 and 36. And the first one we come to that's closest to those numbers is 12. So the highest common factor of both of those is 12. Prime numbers have only two factors, the number and itself. 1 is not considered a prime number, so the first prime number is 2, and then 3 and 5 and 7 and onward. So they're huge. They haven't even found the highest prime number yet with the most digits. So it's amazing. Composite numbers are composed of more than two factors, so more than the number of itself. So 6 factors are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. 20 has a number of factors that can make it up. You might think that 57 is a prime, but near. Square numbers, and it's represented by that little 2 symbol there, which is up high. I'll write it a little bit bigger. It's up here, superscript. That means the number times itself. So we would say x squared, or the square of x. Or we could say, especially because those numbers are not always going to be a 2, we could say to the power of 2, x to the power of 2. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, or 9. 11 squared is 11 times 11, or 121. So if x is a whole number, is x, then x squared is called a perfect square. So 2 times 2 is 4. 11 times 11 is 121. These are examples of perfect squares. So just like we can square something, we can do the inverse, which is to find the square root. So we find that number times itself that gives us a number. So the square root of whatever b is will be a. So therefore, if we square a, we arrive back at b. So the example over here is the square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. And note, this is going a bit beyond, but square root of 16 is a positive number only, and is equal to 4. Not positive or negative 4 at this point. And then if we go a step further, the cube of a number is x to the power of 3, or x cubed, or the cube of x, and that's the number times itself, so that's the second time, times itself, that's the third time. So 2 to the power of 3, or 2 cubed, gives us 8, because we multiply. We don't multiply by 3, we multiply 2 times 2 times 2. So there's 3 2s. There's 3 5s here, all multiplied to make 125. And just as we can have a square root, we can have a cube root. So that's the inverse of cubing something. So the cube root of b is going to be a number. When I cube it, it gives me b. For example, the cube root of a is 2. Since 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Now let's find the lowest common multiple of 6 and 8. First, let's list the multiples of 6 and 8. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 2, 24. 6 times 5 is 30. And the multiples of 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. I'm done. I don't have to go any further. So therefore, the lowest common multiple of 6 and 8 is 24. Now we're going to go the other way to find the highest common factor. We're going to find the factors. And I like to find my factors by going from the outside in. You don't have to do it this way. Same thing with 48. So in this time, I'm looking for the highest common factor. So the highest one that they have in common looks like it's only going to be 12. So I'm going this way this time. So now we evaluate the following. 6 to the power of 2 is 6 times 6, which equals 36. Square root of 81 equals 9, because 9 times 9 equals 81. Yes, there is a button on your calculator that will do that, but that's why it is what it is. 2 to the power of 3 gives us 3 2's, which is 8. And that little 3 there means we're dealing with the cube root. So the cube root of 64 is going to be 4, because 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 gives me 64.